Hey everybody, welcome back to Between Sessions with Berries. Today's guest is Nicole Liloia, a social worker turned business strategist who helps therapists stop running their businesses like unpaid interns and finally achieve real financial security. From juggling multiple jobs in NYC to building her own private practice and growing a multiple income stream business, Nicole now teaches therapists how to simplify, systemize, and scale without burning out or sacrificing their lives. If you've ever been stuck in the overworked cycle, this episode is all about practical shifts that lead to freedom. Nicole, thank you for being here. I'm really excited to have you, to interview you. This is super exciting. I've followed you for years. I think you're amazing. So I'm excited to introduce you to our guests, our podcast listeners, and just talk about everything that you're doing. So we could start out. Could we just talk about how you went from being a burned out social worker in New York City to business strategist now?
Sure. And thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here too. So I, like many others, got my master's in social work, and racked up all that grad school debt and then ended up with a job in New York City, working on my clinical hours. Mm-hmm. And it was at a mental health clinic located in a school. So I was very lucky in that, I was able to have access to my clients very easily and reach my hours and have the opportunity to do consistent work with clients. But I truly got really just, I think, burnt out by the bureaucracy of the systems in the agency life, and more clients, less time with them. It was a lot of pushing on that and just seeing just problems and things that could be solved that were never fixed, Mm-hmm. So that kind of, I think, burnt me out more than anything else. It was definitely something that I was just ready to move on from. So mm-hmm. I actually took some time to travel and volunteer in South America. After I left my job, after I made sure I had all my hours and took my test and everything. And it was a really amazing experience. And when I got back, I was just oh my God, I don't want another 9 to 5. Something must be wrong with me. I feel so lazy, which I later learned that was just ADHD burnout, that is very common for those of us with ADHD, which I didn't know I had at the time. So I really did. It was really hard for me because I just didn't really know what was going on. I just was so tired. So I kind of just over time started, kind of getting a lot of almost freelancing therapy jobs. I felt like I had a part-time job working for a nonprofit where I was working on, continuing education, medical education for health professionals that specialized in multiple sclerosis. So that was really cool. Oh, wow. I had a job doing case management for the National MS Society. And these had kind of traced back to my internship, my first year of grad school, where I was at an MS center and made connections there.
Oh,
so
gotcha.
It's really kind of cool to see how, the connections you make just bring up other opportunities to you when you really nurture those good relationships, which I think is important in business. But again, it wasn't that was a strategy at that time. It kind of just all felt lucky to me.
Yeah.
So then I had a job working with kids in their homes. I'm doing clinical work, and that was a per diem position. And then they asked me to be a manager of that program. So I had that as my part-time job, and I was supervising 30 clinicians who were doing that role of per diem work in the home working with kids. And it was at that time I started my private practice. So I had a bunch of things going on. And when I started my private practice, I was just oh my God. And this was 12 years ago. So online therapy wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah.
But I was oh my God, I just lost all my flexibility. I have to be in this one office every day. I also just was listening to other people, and I was I have to work night hours. People don't want to come during the day. So I was just really I just was not into that. And I was doing all these things because I was just listening to other people versus kind of just looking at how to set things up in a way that worked for me. And I kind of just discovered the online business world. Like, I'm an online dinosaur. Facebook groups for business owners were newer at that time. There weren't even really therapist ones out there. Therapists were not really like looking at other income streams or other services, and really were barely getting online, truthfully, too, at that time. So it was definitely a newer thing. But I just kind of like learned more about business and decided to add in coaching because I felt like it was more flexible. It's not the easiest thing to do that, of course, but, I did kind of add it in. And then over time, people just started asking me more for business help. So I just slowly like shifted into that and transitioned out of other things. So that was definitely like a really good experience. And just like, it was like really fun to be able to try new things and experiment a little bit and made sure I had income coming in from like my practice during that time and things like that as I tried new programs and tried some courses and just different ways of bringing in income.
I love that so much. You sound a lot like me, like just kind of this restless, I don't know, like the thought of like having to go to a 9 to 5 every day, the same one
Yeah.
for the rest of my life just seems like the most miserable thing I could ever imagine.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, so you sound a lot like me, and then I've got the ADD part too. So it's like I'm always, just looking for the next kind of shiny object to
Yeah.
keep me interested, kind of thing. So that's what I love about this online business entrepreneurial thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do so much as therapists. It's just
Yeah.
amazing to be able to just branch out. So I want to talk a lot about that because I know you specialize in helping therapists figure out what to do. But before we dive into that, like the ADD, it sounds like you found a way to harness it once you figured out what it was and you've kind of like filtered your life around it. And I'm wondering, do you talk about that in your coaching or do you have any tips or
Yeah.
strategies you could share about that just in
I mean,
general?
I would say actually, I think that I just like hacked my way through it and I didn't know it was
Nice.
ADHD like till a few years ago.
Okay.
So looking in hindsight, it's like, oh, these are why I do the things that I do, right?
Yeah.
Like these are why I have like multiple computer chargers. Like this is why I have to have like a phone charger in every room because like I can't have one and it has to be like remembering where it is
Yes.
kind of thing,
I love
This is
that.
why I check my bag 20 times before I leave the house.
Mhm.
But and I think for work actually like one of the programs that was so popular that I did, it was just like something that I did for fun. And again, that's what I love when you do have steady income, right? When you have your business with steady income, you can then experiment with things and there's not this pressure. So I had like 1 year just really been good, hit my income goal early and was kind of like, what could I do for fun? So I set up this like 21-day business cleanse. Again, this was still before like I knew I had ADHD. So every day, like I shared like a simple like step or strategy, of
Nice.
things you could do to like reset your business. I think I called it like a 21-day business cleanse or something like that. And, that was really popular with people because they were like, oh my God, I'm actually getting stuff done versus signing up for these programs that are like hours and hours of courses and things like that.
Yeah.
So, it was like little hacks that you can just do to like keep things going, like stay focused on an income goal or what do you really need to be focused on, not trying to do
Nice.
everything. So I think those were the hacks. And then I realized it was a system around ADHD. And I do have a lot of clients, that have ADHD, are diagnosed with it or suspect they have it. And I also think like right now I have a lot of clients who are dealing with perimenopause. And that is also, really correlated with ADHD symptoms or just, if you have ADHD, it can really worsen during this time. So
Oh my
just like I'm
gosh.
in that age range. So I have a lot of clients in that age range, I'm
Same.
dealing with it. So I think overall, like, and just the stressors of the world the past few years, like we're really burnt out again. Like,
Yeah.
we talked about me recovering from burnout, but like I don't know that I think I'm back in there a little bit too, just with everything going on right now. So,
Yeah.
it can be a cycle even when you have like good practices and stuff like that, just because there's things that are out of our control.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know about you, but trying to run Facebook groups, I don't know if you've experienced
Oh,
it, but That is tough. I mean, because part
Yeah.
of, I don't know. I'm assuming when you work with the business strategies that you do, you kind of like help coach people through like what modalities work best for them. And I
Hmm.
just happen to fall in that Facebook group world. And I have like 8 Facebook groups now, but they can be really stressful. I mean, they can burn you out if you don't like manage them the right
Yeah.
way, you know?
It's true. I run the therapist entrepreneurs group. I know you have several groups, which I'm like, I don't know how you do that.
Yeah.
And
Hearing you
I
say it,
know
I'm
just
like, I am
even,
burned out. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I know that's a lot. And it's hard because like, with ADHD, like I love the Facebook group. Like
Yeah.
it's like my dopamine hit. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yes.
are there new posts? Like what's going on? So like it has definitely, it is like a good marketing like way for
Tool. Yeah.
me, but like
Yeah.
not for everybody, because like truthfully they are, I think people think they're easy and they're really not.
Yeah.
It's like, especially in the beginning, you have to put in hours and hours. I mean, I'm still putting in hours and
Yeah,
hours.
same.
I actually missed the beginning when it was like hours and hours to engage the group. Like now it's hours and hours to like delete spam posts,
Oh
and
my
like,
God. Oh my
so
God. I
I
know.
miss the early days, to be honest. But they
Yeah.
are hard. And I would say, like, I don't know about you, but that has not been an easy thing for me to get support with
Yeah.
from
Agreed.
team wise. Like I've tried and like, people just, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I find, and, hopefully this is helpful for people listening too that want to scale. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But, I find it's really hard, especially for me to like, I'm kind of a micromanager to like let go of like letting other people kind of manage my voice. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
To like to monitor those groups or to like give like commentary or
Hmm.
support. Like it just never feels right to me. Like I just
Yeah.
always I want to be in there doing it myself, but it is
Hmm.
like completely overwhelming because as the groups get bigger, it's like just I like before this approving 10 posts. It's like how do you go back and
Hmm.
like manage all those and still maintain
Yeah.
your voice and all of that? It can be hard the kind of the bigger you get with an audience, I think, which we don't talk a lot about on
Yeah.
here. We talk more about the
Hmm.
startup stuff, but maybe that's a good topic for people that are going to scale to kind of like have cautionary tales a little bit like
Yeah.
what to look out for when you're doing this stuff. Yeah, that wasn't my plan at all to talk about just here, but hearing you
No,
here,
I
it's
think
kind of
it's good to
like
think about, because
interesting.
that just even like made me think about, I mean, I know you've, like you said, you see me, so you probably know, like I'm very, even though I'm like pro multiple income streams,
Yeah.
I'm very anti passive income. Like the term
Yes.
passive income, because it's just a lie, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a shiny marketing strategy, that term, and it's frustrating to me to see so many people
Mm-hmm.
who have been like really like financially hurt by going for passive income, because somebody will
Yeah.
say like, just put a course on your website.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Yeah.
that's kind of similar to the Facebook group, where it's like, oh, a Facebook group, like, I just have to accept people. I post in Facebook, but like it's the same thing with like, like passive income, which there's no really such thing as passive income. It's like,
Yeah.
no, like this is a different business model,
Mm-hmm.
So like, are you prepared to shift your business to support this model so you can have it bring in income? Because
Exactly.
it's like more tech stuff. For me, like I hire out, but like
Mm-hmm.
that's the other thing. Like, are you ready to invest money? And I don't think people need to start big. I think people try to go too big. There's definitely, transitional ways to get into it, but they
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately sign up for courses and stuff that tell them it's like easy to do, and they're spending all this money. So I think it is important to think about like, in terms of multiple income streams, like what do you want your business model to look at, and how can you like transition it? It doesn't, it's, which like is annoying, because sometimes it's like, well, I don't want to do it. Like, I just want it this way. I know I'm like that all the time.
No, I
Like
know,
I
but
don't
you're
want that middle
so
piece.
right. You're so right. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
this is so important for people to hear this, because it
Yeah.
is. I mean, I see it myself. Like I see these like
Hmm.
ChatGPT posts, and they're like, "Oh, you could make $5,000 a month just like PDF farming or something with ChatGPT, and it's like I see these things and they do seem so appealing the way people put them, but nobody really knows like literally how much work goes into trying to
Hmm.
build an audience and then be able
Yeah.
to like have an audience that still likes you enough to buy from you at the end of
Yeah.
the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love what you're saying about the passive income. And were you going to say something else? I just,
No, just like
uh,
I think, again, it is important to think about like, what do you want your business model to look like?
mm-hmm.
Who are you getting advice from? Where are you learning from?
Yeah.
Like who are you surrounding yourself with? Like, even just like now, it's a very stressful time. Therapists there's a lot of therapists really struggling out there
Yeah.
because the truth is that they just don't know how to market.
Mm-hmm.
There was that big increase of like mental health needs, like, after the pandemic. So people started up practices. We started up practices because maybe our jobs ended. And it was just, like if you're taking insurance, people are utilizing their insurance. And like, unfortunately, it kind of is a setup because it's like you feel like you're good, but then things change, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, it sucks seeing so many people struggle and really believe. And again, is it harder? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, is there things in the world that are making it harder? But it's like, what can you do to adjust? It may be like shifting your niche a little bit. If your current niche like doesn't have the access, you need to shift it a little bit to get clients because you still need to support yourself. It is okay to like make money. It is okay to support yourself. It is okay to make money.
Yes.
We don't have to stay stuck in that because other people are struggling. Like, we have to keep struggling because it's just like not out there. People only want to use their insurance. Like, there's so much out there, but it does pay me to see how many people are struggling because they just don't know how to market or be visible or what to do, and are just relying on things that they have no control over, like their Psychology Today profile getting viewed.
Yes. Yeah.
You have no
right.
control over that. Like websites, like of course you have some control, but still, like SEO changes, Google algorithm changes. I mean, I've even had it happen with the Facebook group where
Yeah.
Facebook algorithm changes. Like, there will be times where I'll have 2,000 new members in a month, and then times where it's like 100, and I'm
Dead.
like this is
Like,
so
what's
weird.
happening?
Like, what's happening? Or like times the group is super active, and times it's dead. So it's like that can't be you think like 28,000 people, I would never have like worry
Right.
about visibility again, but I have no control over certain aspects of it.
Oh,
So it's
yeah.
like learning the strategy of like what works and trying to not be in that panic mode of like who else is struggling, but more like, okay, if you're like doing well, what are you doing?
Yeah, exactly. Like trying to learn from others that are still seem like they've
Yeah.
got tons of engagement, that sort of thing. Right. Exactly.
Or clients, exactly.
Exactly. So I see this in your Facebook group and mine all the time. People saying, "I'm so burned out. I don't want to see clients anymore. Please, somebody help me. How do I do the passive income?" Everybody says that.
Yeah.
How do I do the passive income? And then you try to correct it a little bit. Uh, where would somebody start with that? That's in that place. They're like, "I cannot see another client. I'm stressed to the max. I've got 40 clients a week. I'm
Yeah.
barely making ends meet. I've got to find a way to scale and do something different." Where do we start? Where does that person start with that?
To be honest with my clients, it starts in the boring place of making sure that what you're doing right now is at maximum profitability. So because like honestly, like if you're maxed out and you need more money, want to do something different, like where are you going to find that time or
Yeah.
income to shift things, right? And a lot of times we have a lot of money leaks and time leaks that we just don't realize because, again, like we're in our own little bubbles a lot of times, or we're just like seeing things like in Facebook groups or, on podcasts. But like we don't have that person that's going like deep into our business to really see like what's going on. So I do like to go in deep of like, where are you spending your time? Where are you spending your money? Like, like looking at things like, what is your average session rate? How can we get that higher? Because I want to make sure that my clients can make better money from what they're already doing, without having to add in new things first, especially if they are overworked. Like there's often times systems things, processes things that can be cleaned up so that you are already making more money for your time,
That's amazing. Yeah, that's so smart to start there because it's like we were saying before, like this stuff is not passive.
Yeah.
There's a lot of time if you decide to build another income stream that you're going to have to devote to making it successful, and it never ends. I mean, it just
Yeah.
literally never ends. I mean, it gets easier the more you can hire a team, it seems like, but like in the beginning, it is like blood, sweat, soul work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I think that is like one thing that, you know, is like annoying when you work
Yeah.
with me because it's like, no, what about the course? Like, what about, you know, like, what about this? And it's like, but like, you don't even have, we want to make sure you have space. We want to make sure you have energy for these things. So I really
Totally.
do think the first step is looking at what you're already doing and making it, you know, cleaner.
Nice.
And people are surprised their income increases a lot, you know, when
I
you get that
bet.
like average session rate up and you're just like really intentional with what you're doing, you know, it just really does like make a big difference already, which is nice.
That's
So
amazing.
there's that piece of things first. And then from there, it is really looking at like what, you know, who is your niche? Like, this is really important with new income streams too. Like, you can't be general. It just can't be like stress management, you know? I say
Mm-hmm.
that as that was the one like I chose initially. It was like stress, you know, stress management for women, stress less. It's like, you know, it has to be really much more targeted nowadays. Again, it's true. Like, people are not spending money the way they used to, but they're still spending it, but they're just more particular about what they're
Yeah.
spending it on. So like they want to spend it on something that's really speaks to them that they know is going to help them versus something that's like general and nice to have, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important that you are like niched with whatever you're doing and that you really are looking at like what does this audience like want and need, you know? And I think we skip that step a lot. I know I have in the past. And then it's like you put all this work into something that just like doesn't sell.
Yeah.
Like whether it's a group or a, you know, or a book or a whatever PDFs, you know, it's like very hard to sell because like one, you're like, oh, it's for everyone. But nobody knows like how it could really help them. And then you're creating more marketing work for yourself because you have to, it doesn't sell as well as it could to a more niche group. So you're almost like having to do multiple times the marketing for it and sales.
Absolutely. Yeah. So not defining the niche more specifically enough and then not like showing the transformation that can happen for the
Yeah,
person.
and really even like talking to your niche, right? Like doing the market research, which like of course is there's steps to that. That sounds so vague, but
Y-
that could be a whole other other episode. But you
For
know,
sure.
really like doing research to see what people want, what people will buy, right? That you could provide. Because again, like I think we get really worried about the process and like you know, like that kind of thing like our tools to help them. But if people don't know it's going to help them, or if it's like just like not in the right format for
Hmm.
them, you know, it's not going to sell.
Yeah, totally. And then once you help your students go through that, how do you help them decide like what product to offer? Or is it like
Yeah.
the niche and the
Yeah, the
transformation
niche kind of
guides?
guides you there in the
Okay.
market research. So can really get you there in terms of like how to present it. I think the other thing is looking at the work you've done with clients, you know, because like if they are your niche already, what have you done with them? Like where are you seeing gaps and like what would be helpful for them? That kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. So are those sort of the most common struggles you see in the beginning for people that are wanting to go outside and up their income streams and have new income streams, or
Yeah, I
are
think that
there?
definitely being general, right? And it's just like
Okay.
focusing on like again the process side which you have to deliver. So of course we're focused on that, but like our clients don't care about that piece, right? The customer doesn't want to know that, right?
Right.
Like, they're just like, is this actually gonna like help me, right? So you need to know that what you're gonna provide does help with the problem they have. But I think it's like you really want to know like their messaging and stuff like that in their own words, what you're helping them with. So I think that's like a big piece of it. Also, of course, making sure it's like aligned with what you'll enjoy and like your strengths, you know, what are your like assets you have? Like, you know, if you, I mean, some people start off just like with intensives, right? Because it's
Hmm.
an easier one, like to put together and, you know, you just can sell it easily to one person. You don't need a whole audience of like multiple people to buy, you
Hmm.
know, or like multiple spots to fill like in a group. So
Yeah.
it's kind of looking at like what are some things you can do like that way.
Do you recommend therapists go like towards their clients and try to build like coaching offers or like go outside of like the therapy world, or like trying to attract those type of same clients? Like, do you have like
Yeah.
suggestions
I
around?
mean, I think it depends, right? Like, I think it depends on like what your interest is. I mean, I don't think coaching like is always the easiest, because you do really need to be super specific for that.
Mm-hmm.
It seems easy because it's like, oh, it's thousands of dollars. Like in
Yeah.
that sense, it seems like easier money. But it is like a different, you're selling a bigger thing. So it can be really hard for some people to be
Mm-hmm.
comfortable with that. So I think it does also just depend on, like what is your audience? Like, what do they need? Like, what would be helpful for them? But I think like, honestly, it's easier to start off first within your practice and look at ways of, again, that maximum profitability there, or what other services you could offer with there, rather than going outside and having to start a new business, and a
Mm-hmm.
new audience. Like, because if you are choosing a different audience, which a lot of people do, like you are starting from ground zero
Right.
with a
And
new
I was
business.
just thinking that when you're talking, it's like, how do you even suggest, if you don't have this like audience to already cherry pick from,
Hmm.
so to speak, like clients you've worked with
Yeah.
before that might have been on a wait list or
Right. Or
something
like
like that?
referral partners, at least you already have a
Refer
network connected to
exactly.
that audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have advice? Like if somebody's like, okay, no, I'm like over these clients, I don't want to work with them anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's totally fine. Totally fine. It's just like knowing
Smart to say like keep it in there if you can
that's
because
the
you've got
best
this
place to
built in.
start. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it.
If you're going like to a new audience, it's kind of the same thing, like doing that market research of like, who's the audience, like what are they struggling with, like what do they want, is that something you actually want to help them with, right? Because it's like, we might know like what they need and what's going to help them, but like if they don't know that, if they're like completely somewhere else and you don't align with that, you're going to get stuck.
Yeah.
So it's like making sure there's alignment there with your audience, if you're choosing a new one, of like what they need, what you want to support them, that kind of stuff. So again, kind of that like market research about with that audience about like what's going on. And then it's like building that audience from ground zero. So again, I think starting with relationships again is important. Who's in your network that has access to these people that you could support, you could build a relationship with. If you don't have people yet, who can you look for to build relationships with? So I think that's really important. And just starting out there again. And then, of course, like as that you get a foundation of one, you can then go to the next one, like starting to build an email list, right? But I think it's hard because a lot of times I see people try to do too many things at one time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, oh, I'm supposed to be doing social media. Let me post on Instagram, and I will say, like, I will ask people when they say they're struggling, is like, what are you doing to get clients? And they're like, well, I post on Instagram like twice a week.
Yeah.
I have a psychology, they're like, a Psych Today profile. I have a website. But it's like all these kind of like passive things, right?
Mhm.
And you want to be proactive with your visibility and marketing. So I think it's really important to just like, you know, do more of fewer things and really get momentum and see what's working, so that you can then like expand into the next thing.
Yeah, and I like you've said a couple times, like, see what's working, experiment, try this, try that. I like that concept that
Hmm.
it's okay to just like pivot, especially if something's not working. Or if you start with a niche, like I've done that. I've started with a niche and then it's like, I hate this. Like, I don't want to talk about this ever
Hmm.
again because you get
Yeah.
so sick of it because you have to do so
Yeah.
much with it. So I really like that advice. I mean, it sounds like you kind of give that advice in your coaching. Like, it's okay to just like play around with it and see where
Hmm.
it takes you.
Yeah, I think it really is important because we put a lot of pressure on ourselves to get the perfect niche, but it's
Mm.
like you just got to start somewhere and they're not permanent.
Yeah.
Like they're going to change over time, but you have to start with one to kind of get where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. So, what does it look like to work with you in your programs if somebody's listening and they want to join you
Hmm.
and work with you? What do your programs look like and how do you walk people through this process?
Yeah, I have a one-to-one program, and then I have a mastermind that I run once or twice a year. So that's like a group format, and my one-to-one program is 5 months long because it really does take time to change things and get results.
Yeah.
So basically it is all personalized to you. Like even in the mastermind, people have similar interests and goals, but like it's not like you're coming in and we're doing like week 1, XYZ, like, and you're like stuck learning all this stuff and like doing boring workbooks or anything like that. It's about like making sure like that you are like have a customized plan, because everybody's a little bit different, right? Our niches are going to dictate a little bit our strategies, our assets. Like some people might have an email list, some people might not have an email list, things like that. Like, what are your assets? Like, what do you have already? Like that could change your plan a little bit, like what is your goal? Sometimes like honestly, the area where you live might make it a little different, rural versus urban. So it is really important to make sure you all know that like it's not like the standardized cookie cutter plan. So we're really looking at like, what is your income goal? What is your bigger goal for the year? How can you like reach that? And then we're looking at breaking it down into actual steps to get there. So, every time you meet with me, like even in the mastermind, you have individual sessions, like you're getting specific action steps to take. So, and you have access to my resources. So whether you're like earlier and you're like, no, I just need steady clients, we're working on that. And that we're going to set you up also so that you could have other income streams later. Or if you're later and you have like the one-to-one client flow, and you want to expand out now, I'll help you there with that. So it's all like very customized. We work back and forth. I do a lot of like reviews of like marketing, any like websites, things like that, so that you could change it. So it's just really like back and forth work to make sure that we're getting you closer to your goals. Like, like you're doing the things you need to do consistently too. Because I think a lot of times we just are like, oh, hey, I did it. It was uncomfortable. And it didn't work. But it's like, did you really like do it to where you need to get results, Did you do it 20 times or one time?
Yeah, posting once is not going to get you anywhere. Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's such good advice. So a lot of times on this podcast, we also like to talk about like sort of technology and innovation and that sort of thing. So I'm wondering, like in your program or just your life, in your businesses, your income streams, are you using any like technology you love or AI tools that are just making your life so much easier than, before we had all this technology?
Yeah. I definitely do use ChatGPT. I do love it because, like I don't love writing copy for like emails or stuff like that. So I feel like it's been really helpful. Like once I like kind of trained it to sound like me, and I do give my clients like a tool, like, or some resources that they can use, and they've been shocked by like how much it's helped them write better copy and like speak to their ideal clients. Like you can use it for the market research, which is really nice. Because again, I think us as therapists, we're really trained to write clinical, and it's not really what connects with our clients. So, and it's hard to like change our brain on that. So it's been really helpful for things like that. It's been really helpful for like just kind of like planning. So if I am doing a launch, it's like, hey, this is the date of my launch. Like, what are some things I can do to get more clients, kind of deal. Nice. Like, this is my goal. I have access to this email list. I have access to this like Facebook group. So what can I do to get more clients? So I use it for that too. And then I'm currently switching from Trello to Asana for project management.
Oh, nice.
Which is huge undertaking, but very important.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Hired help for that because like, it's been on the to-do list for 3 years now.
Oh
so unless I hired someone, it was not happening. And I just like saw how like they have AI worked into things where it'll like break your task down into subtasks. So I love that. I think one of the things that I struggle the most with ADHD is like I need little details. Like I need things like small chunks, but that also gets very overwhelming because it creates like a lot of excess,
Yes.
So I love that some of these like tools can do that for us without me having to like sit there and like mark all the steps down.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good tip. Yeah, I could totally relate. We went from Teachable and MailerLite to Kartra, and like moving an entire email list to Kartra, and then all the products from Teachable to Kartra. And now it's already like Kartra almost feels obsolete with all these other like go high
I
level, like these
know.
other like tools. And I'm like, God, my team would like kill me if I wanted to switch again.
I
They'd
know.
probably
It's
kill me.
expensive to switch,
I
you
know.
know?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard. Yeah. So
Mhm.
I'm sure your program talks about smart strategies around that stuff too. Because yeah, I was really winging it in the beginning, and it was everything was everywhere. It was just all over the
And
place.
that's why, like, in the beginning, I'm really like, don't buy a thing yet. Because, like,
Yeah.
one, you want to make sure that you're going to have, like, people are going to be buying your stuff. So, like, you
Yeah.
don't want to make big investments in tools like that until, like, you actually have sales and, like, know you have an audience to sell to for sure. Because
Yes.
it is a big undertaking.
Yeah. Oh, what a good tip
Yeah.
strategy. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I kind of miss the days it was just like a locked page on my WordPress website.
Gosh. Yeah, I totally can relate to that. Oh, Lord. There's so much that goes into it. Thank you for
Yeah.
like normalizing the whole thing and just like, talking
Yeah.
about all the little bits and pieces that people don't see, like that they
Mhm.
just think, like you were saying, like put a course on your website, you're going to make all this passive income. It just doesn't happen that way. It's
Yeah.
just not
I
reality. Yeah.
know. I feel bad because sometimes I feel like I'm just like negative, but it's not about being negative. It's like really just trying to protect you of
Yeah.
like, what is really going to work for you? Like, what do you really need? What do you not need?
Mm.
And that's like, I think the benefit of working, it is obviously a higher investment when you're working with someone like one-to-one or in a group
Yeah.
like that versus like a course or a membership. But I do think it saves, like, again, it saves you a lot of money long term because you're able to get, make progress more quickly.
Yeah. 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 It saves a lot more money if you can
Mhm.
skip all the Googling and trial and error.
Yeah. And
And
like, just like, buying unnecessary stuff
oh my
because,
gosh.
like,
Yeah.
a celebrity name entrepreneur like recommends, like, is like this
Yeah.
that I use. And it's like, well, you're a $10 million business with
Yeah.
like a full team. A solo person doesn't need that.
Exactly. Yeah, so practical. Such good tips. Thank you so much for coming today. Where do people find you if they want to work with you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, like check out the Therapist Entrepreneurs group on Facebook if you're not there. And then you can come to NicoleLiloia.com. And you could go to NicoleLiloia.com/consult to just book a consult if you're interested in working together. And my packages and stuff are on the website. So you'll see everything there as well.
Yeah, nice. It's a gorgeous website too. I was looking at
Oh,
it earlier
thank
today.
you.
It's really pretty.
I love that. Not me,
Yeah.
of course.
Well, it's gorgeous.
Yes, an amazing team member.
Well, thank you so much. It's been great talking to you.